It was not so long ago that I struggled to maintain my authority over our clan, yet now they call me king. My wife watches over our newborn son, and slowly the people of this land come to accept us as their neighbors. Yet this is not the end of our trouble, with the vicious Karelians at our door and Rurik looming to the south. I will need to deal with both of these problems, but it will not be easy. May the gods bless our cause. Hello Wanderers, welcome back to our Crusader Kings 3 roleplay series following Clan Stjarna. And welcome to the halls of King Styrkar of Bjarmaland. King Styrkar rules over vast swaths of taiga and forests along the Dvina River and south of the White Sea. And men no longer see him as but a jarl, but instead have begun to call him king after his many conquests and victories. And as King Styrkar has duties to attend to, number one is holding court. So let us see what our people have to say. We shall gesture for the first petitioner to approach. The next petitioner is evidently somewhat of a stranger in this court, as I do not recognize him, and the eyes of Marshal Gretier have been on them since they first arrived. My lord, I have come to declare that the people of Povenets are refusing to pay the taxes you have levied upon us. In times past, our land and our people were granted rights and privileges which your recent exactions ignore. We request that you address our concerns fairly, or else. Oh, that was... You weren't really doing that well up until this point, but that or else really sealed the deal. But of course we would be willing to hear you out, Arnaz, but perhaps in a place of our own choosing. Then we can discuss this. The tax revolt leaders are ambushed and killed. He made the mistake of questioning the authority of King Styrkar. A gaggle of grotty peasants appear before my throne. They are armed with the most vicious, flaming farming equipment I've seen in my whole career of quashing rebellions. Like literally flaming? What do they mean by that? One pokes a pitchfork through my favorite throne cushion. Wow. People are really trying to make enemies of Styrkar today. This being which rules us is a true demon incarnate. No real man could be capable of such violent extremities as we have faced. Take up arms, help us slay it before it transforms. We could go with it and pretend we are a demon. We would gain the nickname the Spawn of Loki. But I think we will instead attempt to intimidate these locals into submission. I am no demon, I am a king, which is much, much worse. The man who approaches the throne is clearly a commoner. My lord, he begins his speech. I represent the local community of Kolmogori. In the last few months, our cemeteries have been plagued with disappearances of bodies. All have been dug up and left no trace. At first, we feared wild animals or obscure powers at work, but then your own court physician, Curly, was caught red-handed hauling the dead away for her experiments. Please put a stop to this blasphemy. Court physicians really have a tendency to do this in CK3. Oh, I mean, I don't really want to take this stress hit, but grave robbing is a serious crime. So, well, we're gonna have to hope that this critical stress doesn't do too badly here. And we are at stress level 3, so that is pretty worrying. We are going to have to deal with that quite immediately. But as you can see, our court has been held, and now we rule over Bjarmaland in truth. But Bjarmaland is not without enemies. Obviously, we do have our foe here in Karelia to our west, and to the south, our enemy Rurik, of course, still lurks. And we'll have to deal with both of those. But, number one, we do need to deal with this stress, so I think we are going to lash out Well, let's see what this is here. My head feels like a thunderstorm trapped in an egg. I squirm, trying to get comfortable on my throne as a messenger spins me some irrelevant sob story about pirates or bandits or raiders or some kind of commoner nonsense. The pressure in my skull builds, demanding release somewhere, and almost involuntarily my mouth opens to speak. Did you not throw an egg at me some years ago? Behead this fool. The court around us goes deadly silent. And behead anyone else who tries to speak to me. We could do that. Maybe Frothy will support me. And we will get the Confider trait. You know what? Maybe Frothy will support us. That's kind of what he's been here for this whole time. So yeah, we will confide in Frothy. I think that's a good idea. We obviously do have a new Riksgothi due to the imprisonment of our previous one, so we could find her a marriage prospect. I mean, we could potentially take her as our own concubine as well. Which, you know what? Isn't necessarily a bad idea. I mean, we are trying to win over our wife, but, you know, it wasn't uncommon to take concubines in that time. Perhaps we can do so. It would be good to have more children, and our wife has given us one heir so far, but it may be good to have more. So we will take her as our concubine. And she can still serve as our Riksgothi as well. What is this event? The pageantry of court continues day after day from dawn to dusk. Queen Faina extemporizes on my greatness, spouting platitudes and praises. Nearby, Chieftain Gretier joins in, playing to the crowd, grinning stupidly and expecting a sign of my favor for his antics. This seems a little bit unlike Gretier, but a deep, insistent desire to let the mask slip and tell these people my true feelings slowly builds, gnawing at my mind and distracting my attention. A lone bead of sweat trickles interminably down my brow. Faina notices my distance, inquiring, "Are you all right, my lord?" with almost genuine concern. I think we will suggest that we have other business to attend to, instead of listening to people's pandering. And indeed, we do have other business to attend to. Obviously, I would like to act against Chieftain Turret of Karelia. And there is some possibilities there, though the chances of pulling off a murder scheme are a bit low. But I do see this, release your anger. And I believe that could initiate a duel. And this might make sense. Karelia and Bjarmaland have been fighting each other for a long time, back and forth, raiders going between the lands. Perhaps it is time we call out High Chieftain Turret to a duel and let us settle this as men upon the battlefield. Yeah, let's do this, Chieftain Turret. For a brief few moments, High Chieftain Turret and I pace in lazy half circles, each watching for an opening. I heft my axe, ready to defend myself, while he clutches his mace firmly to hand. This fight may only be till first blood, but that doesn't ease my nerves. With a sudden twitch, our bout begins. Before I know it, Turret is somehow inside my guard, his mace speeding towards my heart. It is only by the narrowest of margins that I dodge backwards. An opening. Try my steel, churl. With all my strength, I surge past Turret's guard and launch a fervent strike with my axe, aiming to cut him down. Only by the narrowest of margins does it stop me from claiming a bloody victory. Unexpectedly, Turret manages to swing a vicious kick for my shin, momentarily hobbling me. My form is deteriorating fast, with numerous exploitable gaps, and Turret's stance is failing. My opponent is still holding off my blows well, but he seems close to faltering. I think we will use our patience to win the day here. My axe is a better protector than any shield, parrying, countering, and guarding against Turret's every move. Wherever he moves his mace, my axe is there, waiting. Before I know it, Turret is somehow inside my guard once again, and we have to act quickly. Let us see. I will show you how to heft an axe. Yeah, let's do that. Confidence is half of any fight, and I throw out fluidly quick slashes with all the confidence of a seasoned expert. Turret does his best to ward me off, but he's entirely on the defensive, and his guard is only getting weaker and sloppier with each blow. When the opportunity presents itself, I knock his mace flying with one powerful cleave, and with that, the bout is decided. I get my yield before I even entered my backswing. I am victorious. And now Chieftain Turret is wounded, which, if the gods are favorable to us, will cause him to suffer and eventually succumb to infection, perhaps. That would be ideal, but we can only hope. We still have this stress problem, and I would really like to do something about that. Oh yes, we have a couple options now. We could lash out. And I think we will. Our subjects still question us occasionally, particularly Chieftain Oljoy. As soon as all vassals are seated, Chieftain Oljoy starts talking, and I smile brashly. Chieftain Oljoy, sorry to interrupt, but why are you always such a loathsome churl? And you, Chieftain Gretier, were you born a knave, or did that develop later in life? And you, don't think I don't see you. Yes, we are angering many of our subjects, but it feels good to release a little bit of this anger. Was this talk to a confidant? To be truly listened to is a rare treat. We could lose some stress, and our courtiers will lose some opinion of us. But I'm not really concerned about my courtiers' opinion. They fear us more than anything. So yeah, let's talk to Frothy about things. After a long conversation with Frothy, I can feel my thoughts calming down. My mind is at ease. There we go. Our stress is getting back a little bit under control. I would like to host a hunt, but we do not have the money for that. So we may need to lead some raids to collect that money as well, and perhaps we shall do so. But I do want to consider how we will act against King Rurik. He is growing older, and we don't want to see his old age take him before we can exact our revenge. And there is the option of taking away his favored heir. Obviously, Helgi is the older, but with his leprosy fornication, he is obviously not going to be Rurik's favorite. No, that is undoubtedly the ambitious, charming, and intelligent Yephemi. What shame it would be if something were to happen to young Yephemi. And the chances are pretty good. Especially considering how many people we can win over here. Perhaps King Rurik's cupbearer? A little bribe may convince her to join in our scheme. Let us see how that unfolds. Oh, what is this? Last night I had a most wonderful dream. I found myself basking in a realm of infinite light, nothing but light, and saw before me many men and women, some of whom I recognized as my deceased relatives. Even those I did not recognize I knew were my distant ancestors. We neither talked nor interacted directly, and I merely bask in their benevolent presence. Well, I think we would see this as a sign from beyond that our cause is favored, this white light. Very fitting. So we lose even a little bit more stress. That is quite nice indeed. Let us raise up our raiders, and we shall refill our coffers with the coin needed to continue our plans. We do have the chance of a faction being raised against us, but it doesn't look like it is going to trigger anytime soon, so we may consider dealing with that in the near future if they decide to act against us. I guess there is a chance that they will rise up. We can get an intrigue perk here, And I believe we are going to go for a job done right, because that increases our hostile scheme chance. Gives us a pretty good chance of success there, so let us see how that goes. It was not what Svietslova was hoping to find by spying on the secret conversations, but discovering the truth about Poavila does not hurt. Perhaps this can help my efforts. Perhaps it can. Not really sure what that's all about, but hey, the more secrets we have, the better. We did capture the High Chieftain's daughter, and we can simply ransom her back. Here we go. Let us continue the raids here in the lands to our north. And what is this? We will not stand for your vile oppression of good Bjarmi and Ukonuskos any longer. Our time is now at hand. With Parakele guiding us, we will rise up and free ourselves from your heathen rule. You want freedom? You shall have it in death. And of course, our wayward vassal, Chieftain Oljoy, is going to join in. Well, we will return home and deal with that soon, but first let us complete this raid here. There we go. So we're going to head directly back to our lands here. Our acquaintance Arnaz died. He died in our dungeons. That is what a shame. He probably shouldn't have tried to blackmail us then. But, well, that was his own decision. Alright, where... Oh yes, our people are just about to land now. And let us catch these peasants here before they can run. Ulfir approaches me, cracking his knuckles. My lord, I've heard that you are studying the Finnic language. My father was a merchant, and he could learn any any language in no time at all. His secrets are in this manual. I have no use for it, as I cannot read. I'd part with it for a reasonable sum. Perhaps the price you are asking for is a bit steep. I'm not opposed to buying this, but I don't want to pay 50 coins for it. And he takes the deal. There's one thing in particular Yephemi cannot resist, and it's his favorite treat. His next sweet snack will be 1 part confit and 1 part potent poison, forgotten by my agent in front of the child. Bon appetit. Let us deal with Rurik's son. Yephemi is dead. He swallowed the bait, sweet roll and all. In no time at all, he was clutching his throat, wheezing for air before collapsing into a small heap on the ground, never to get up again. All bakers in the area were questioned, but no trace of foul play could be found. I had to do this. We did indeed need to get our revenge upon Rurik. I see that he has another son, which is going to be another problem to deal with, but his favored heir has now passed. Does he suspect that the king to his north, who I don't even know if Rurik realizes who we are just yet. I don't think that he does. Maybe he connects this rumors of this strange white-haired king to his north with the young boy who escaped him all those years ago, but I'm not certain that he does. But with his young son dead, he may be looking into who may have acted against him. But our revenge against Rurik is going well. Now, I know I've had many people suggesting that I could seduce Rurik's wife, and I get why people are suggesting that, but I don't think that Styrkar is going to be doing this because, for one, it would be a dishonorable act. Obviously, murder is a dishonorable act as well, but this would be a dishonorable act that Styrkar would have to engage in, himself, obviously. But more than that, and I think the greater reason is that if she were to bear a child from Styrkar, what would be the obvious consequence of that? Well, obviously she would face a pretty terrible punishment, which is, probably not a big deal to Styrkar, but obviously the child would not simply be allowed to live. So I don't think that Styrkar would use his own family and blood to try to get one up on Rurik. He wouldn't allow one of his own children to face that fate simply to act against his enemy when he has so many other options at his disposal. So no, we will not be seducing Rurik's wife. That does not seem like the good option or a necessary option for us to take. And as you can see here, we are crushing this peasant rebellion, and we shall hopefully, yes, take them down here and now. Let us enforce our demands upon them. And now we can deal with Chieftain Uljoy. And how shall we deal with him? Well, we could obviously execute him. We can't revoke titles or anything because of our authority level, but we could negotiate his release. And I am tempted to offer just the tiniest bit of mercy and banish him. And this solves two problems. One, it gets rid of Uljoy as a threat, and it puts his lands in the hands of his two sons, which splits their power and will make them much easier to manage. So I think from the strictly clever point of view, this would be a pretty good option to keep peace, but also to weaken our enemies. So let us banish Uljoy, and we shall split up his lands here. And I would also like to attend to some other matters, but first, after lots of hard work, I've finished learning the Finnic language. Endless hours of practicing accentuation, sleepless nights mimicking inflection, and countless lessons mastering intonation was all worth it in the end. During my efforts, I looked to emulate Queen Faina's accent, and I am sure that she would be impressed with my results. We could send her a letter, but I don't think we're that skilled at writing Finnish just yet. But this should help win over our wife a little bit. Well, she still doesn't like us that much. She's a bit annoyed. You know, our relationship with our wife has always been a bit troubled, but I think we've kind of come to a little bit of an understanding after the birth of our son Styrbjorn. So at least things are a little bit more positive between us. Now, I know some people will be asking why we do not attempt to vassalize our ally here. And that is because we are a different faith, and he will definitely not accept that. So we're going to have to think about what to do there. He does have a few children here, and they will be inheriting his lands. I think that will be a thing that we will deal with in the future. We're not going to attack Chudia to bring it into our realm. I don't really see any reason to do so. They are a good ally, and we don't need to expand further this direction. So we will leave Chudia as it is. But I do want to reward my good Frothy, as he has served us well, and he deserves a title. And I think more than simply the making him a chief, I think we can make him a jarl. And that, I think, is well deserved by our good friend here. That also does us the favor of keeping Chieftain Uljoy's sons a little bit more split up, and we can allow Frothy to keep them under control. So that is pretty good. We do need a new spy master because Frothy's wife was our spy master, and Arnfast does seem like a pretty good option there. So that has settled that. Now how? Well, I mean, obviously I would like to... Oh, what do they got going on here? Novgorod is doing a conquest against the chiefdom of Onega? Isn't that our... Oh, there's two Onegas. That's interesting. Rurik and the Karelians are fighting each other. That is pretty... And he's in a bunch of other wars. You know, I think we're going to go on a raid of Rurik's lands. While he's distracted, we're going to raise up our men. And we are going to raid Rurik. And we are going to lead the raid ourselves, of course. If we are going into Rurik's lands, then we need to be the ones leading the army. And like I said, with any luck, we may be able to capture some of his people, perhaps his wife or his young newborn son. Capturing his newborn son would be the best option possible here. So, while our enemies fight each other, we take up a force of raiders sailing down the river, heading towards Novgorod to burn and lay waste to Rurik's capital. If we capture some prisoners, that would be ideal. But either way, Rurik will come home to a wasteland, and that would be a nice little bit of revenge for us. So let us hope that this raid is successful here. We shall see. Will we get any prisoners? Well, now that is pretty good. We did manage to capture Rurik's newborn son. That is pretty interesting. All right, let us return home before anyone can even try to rise up against us here. And we will take his newborn child back to our lands. What are we going to do with him? He wants a ransom? Well, I don't know about that. But can we... Oh, we can't keep him in our court. Oh, we can't bring him because he's an heir. Well, I think we will keep him as a prisoner for now. Not in our dungeon house arrest. Yeah, that seems fine. This is definitely going to anger Rurik to the point that he may act against us, but no, we will be keeping his son as a hostage for now. I don't think they realize, well, Rurik obviously doesn't realize what's happened yet. He hasn't returned home. When he does, he'll find out that his newborn son is missing. And he will no doubt try to get his revenge, but we will be ready for him. I suppose we may be able to raise a runestone now. We'll probably get enough money to host our hunt later on, but I think that this deserves a good commemoration. So we will raise a runestone to our ascension to the throne of Bjarmaland, to our success over our enemies, and to now being known as the King of Winter, King Styrkar of Bjarmaland. And we will put it in Kolmogori. And there we are. That is quite the success, though we will have to consider that Rurik will no doubt be coming to act against us, considering we have imprisoned his son. So we will have to deal with that, but we will be dealing with that in the next episode. If you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment on what you guys think should happen next or will happen next. And if you like this series, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We will have more episodes on this and in the Drango playthrough in the very near future. Until the next time, I have been Stray. You have all been absolutely wonderful, and we will see you in the next episode.